Hello and welcome to Mudflood Mystery North. I'm Vincent. I'm going to stay off the camera for today. And I'm going to try to pick up where I left off in my last video. I do my OBS usually on my laptop. And my laptop, it's a decent laptop, but you know what? It just doesn't do video well. Gets all hot and bothered and shuts off. Anyways, so I just wanted to pick up where I left off on the last video. I know you guys, I've got some great comments and the views are up, and I really appreciate all the support, guys. If you didn't tune into my last video, I was doing a little bit of U of T stuff, and I was at the University College building, and I was just taking a good look at I got a drum on the table that's vibrating when I talk. It starts ringing. I'm gonna get rid of that. One sec. So, anyways, and what I had found in the University College building was some crazy kind of dark-ish imagery. There was some like demonic faces, and whatnot, what have you. So yeah, I checked that video out. It's the one before this one, and it's on University College. And I was moving on to this building here that you see in front of you, which is the Victoria University, Victoria College. So this building, I had all the history up in the tabs and things like that, but I don't want to really go too far. I mean, you know, it's the basic stuff. You know, the well-known architect who built 25 incredible structures in 15 years, and but anyways, just quickly, I just wanted to point out to you guys the sort of the things that I wanted to point out about this building. Now, first of all, when I walked up to it, I thought it was really awesome because it says right on the front, "The truth shall make you free," and I thought that was really awesome to see on a Tartarian style building. And I believe I'm going to title this video "Who Were the Tartarians?" because I've been making I've kind of taken turning over a new leaf with the things that I want to talk about. I come across so much cool stuff that I would love to share, but I'm kind of plagued with this idea that oh well, somebody else posted that and somebody else found that out, and you'll see it a lot of times in comments under videos where they're like, oh, this guy, he just takes other people's ideas and makes them his own and tries to get his sub count up because, you know, he's ripping me off, or you ripped that off of this person. And my wife, who's also an incredible vlogger, and I, you know, our mission for all this is to get info out there, right? You know, you don't call a university professor a plagiarist because he's sharing the ideas of another person. No, he's creating a culture of learning in which students can get the basis, get the background of the science or whatever area of study that they're learning, so that from there they can move on. You can't just come up with ideas. You need to get ideas from other people. So this turning over, this change of mine has been, I'd like to give a bit of the backstory on the mud flood and on Tartarians. You know, I'm always thinking that it's just mud flooders that are tuning in here, but maybe it's people who just, you might find my channel first, and I just want to make sure I cover some bases for at least what I understand is the forming theory around mud flood, Tartarian influence, the controllers, the reset, all that stuff. I'm not going to cover it all in this video, but anyways, so I'm going to cover what I can and what I've come across and whatever my internet tabs are going to pull up from what I've just researched in the last 24 hours. And I'll tell you guys, I've never been so in love with my city, and I've got so much footage, but I think I'd like to have some balance of you know, the sort of on the scene and taking in the imagery. I mean, there's only so many sunken windows you can show, before you need to relate it to something. And the evidence is there. I think any mud flooders out there are probably just like me, just almost oversaturated in the evidence. But now we're moving on to the why and the who, and the when. The when is a big one too. But I did want to just put some closure on the last video. So again, this is Vic College, and here are some of the strange things. Okay, so this is now this one is not professed to be a non-Christian college. I believe it was affiliated with the church. And what do we have? The truth shall make you free. And then we have these interesting faces again. Given to artistic license. Okay, we have some kind of cat-like animal, maybe cat-like. And that's the thing, sometimes they're a bit nondescript, right? And what I was saying in the last video was, are we just going to always say these are flights of fancy by the artist? So again, here we go. Why? That's kind of an evilish looking face. It's certainly not a welcoming face. It's kind of a face that says, get away. You're doomed. Okay, this is on our, this is on one of the, the main learning institutions, one of the central learning institutions in Canada. Okay, I'm going to pull over to the other side, and you'll see again, we've got another face. And this guy is different than the other guy, unique unto himself, but certainly grim, right? And there's nothing there that says to me Christian. And that's earthy, the leaves, maybe pagan, but it's this solemn guarding kind of thing. We're told, gargoyles, they're to keep away evil spirits, or they were just mimicking things that they did in the past. I'm not sure if I buy that anymore, guys. I feel like there's got to be rhyme and reason behind some of this stuff. And just one other, somewhat disturbing for myself, you may not find it disturbing, but I found disturbing about this building. That's another thing. Everything about this building is kind of welcoming. Like, from standing back, you're like, it's a beautiful building. It's kind of got soft, rounded features. But upon closer reflection, you've got things like, who are these guys? And some of them look maybe not angry or mad, but they appear underneath a few different ones, and they're all different faces. And I don't know, maybe the Masons, it could be argued the Masons were like, they wanted to immortalize themselves in this building, so they made their own faces, and these may be depictions of all their faces. What I don't understand is, why isn't this information readily available? Oh, look, there's more on the top bit here. Why isn't it right there? Like I was saying in my last video, like, why don't we know the motivations? Why don't we know the symbolism? Why isn't there ever an explanation? And maybe it's me that I just haven't done enough research. Maybe there's other sources, other people I need to talk to. I mean, we all just rely on the internet as kind of like the research source. So I can understand, there's probably experts on this building, probably that work in this building, that I could talk to, that would tell me, or at least tell me what is the narrative around the symbolism. But look at these faces, guys. I mean, aside from the fact that piece of crown molding looks like it's piercing them all through the head, but there's, they're kind of interesting, maybe not grim, but I mean, a little strange, right? A little bit of a strange accent, like, who's this guy and what happened there? And, so I don't even know. Maybe it's just the guys who worked on the building. I don't know. So anyways, I want to move on from that, guys. It just, obviously I was frustrated when it just cut out on me there. And I hope this one's not going to do the same. I'm going to try to keep this video down to about a half an hour. So what I wanted to show you guys, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was some of the theories we have about where the heck who is this other nation? Who is this other? Sorry about that. Who is this other group, or what are our theories on who these people were if they weren't us, if they were previous civilizations? And one of the main theories is Tartarians. Now, Tartarians. I'll just, you know what, I thought I had it up in the tabs here, but Tartarians, Tartaria. Okay, so let's just read quickly the Wikipedia Tartary. Okay. Tartary, Latin Tartaria, or Great Tartary, was a historical region, but up until the late 18th century it was known as a vast country located in northern and central Asia, stretching eastwards from the Caspian Sea and from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean, inhabited mostly by Turkic peoples. The vast region spanned much of the Pontic Caspian steppe, Volga, Urals, and a bunch of other places, Siberia. Okay, geography and history. By mid-18th century, second to the Spanish Empire, Tartary covered the most land area in the world, with 4,472,290 square miles. Tartary was often divided into sections with prefixes denoting the name of the ruling power or the geographical location. Thus, Western Siberia was Muscovite or Russian Tartary, Yin or Yin Jiang, and Mongolia were Chinese or Cathay Tartary. Western Central Asia, later Russia Central Asia, was known as Central Tartary, and Manchuria was East Tartary. So yeah, so there's this huge area in Asia that was considered Tartaria or Tartary. So here we have a pretty awesome picture. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. So yeah, as you can see, we have, you know, a huge civilization who kind of disappears after a while, who kind of is lost. And there are stories that in Russia, when Tartary was conquered, that they were burning all the history, the language became forbidden. There's like just all this stuff that the Tartarians, you know, I'm not sure which is the proper way to pronounce it, Tartarians. But anyways, so there's this idea that they weren't lost, but that they moved. And we're kind of understanding more of this, or that they were already spread around the world, that they were already, you know, they may have destroyed this area of Tartary, but there are other settlements, much like the colonialism that we know now, the British colonialism, that they went out into the world and they populated the world. And so this is the idea that this global architecture, which is common, this Romanesque architecture that they talk about, is actually Tartarian architecture, and that's why from Australia to India to Persia to, you know, Britain to North America and South America, we have this same Romanesque architecture. Not because it was Roman and because everyone wanted to copy Romans, but because it was the remnant of an older civilization that populated most of the world. So that's a little bit of backstory on what I'm starting to understand from about Tartaria. So got into. I also came across numerous things that talked to us a little bit about. I hope I don't. I'm getting us on a goose chase here. Sorry, guys. That talked to us a little bit about Tartaria in North America and the Tartarians in North America. So this is a map from 1597. And it's a pretty awesome map here. So here we have what appears to be full-blown cities going on in Western North America before there's really been a whole lot of time for that to develop. So I just want to show you here. So in this map, we've got this place. This is considered one of the. So Chilaga is commonly believed to be a Tartarian city where Chicago is right now, and in Chicago, there's tons of incredible architecture. I'm sure you'll find lots. I might have even touched on a little bit of Chicago in a video or two. I can't remember. And then this one, it looks like it says Quivira, but I've also seen it called Quivera. So if you'll notice, they got these city little. They look like a stamp or something because they're all the same. None are. It doesn't seem like any are acts. I mean, it's hard to see in this resolution, guys. And I apologize. I swear, when I'm online, I can zoom in better than when I can on my media player. So here we go, guys. So this is California, right? I guess this would be considered Alaska. And you see how the landmass doesn't quite add up, right? It's like, it's kind of like what we have. But, and often people, and this is what I've been reading about, is often people say, oh, cartography then was rudiment. It wasn't very developed. And cartography, they just went with their basic ideas of stuff. And, which I don't know. I mean, why are we accept some things about the cartography and not others? I can understand, okay, you maybe don't know completely, but there's another theory that landmass actually has changed since 500 years ago when they did this cartography, that the landmass has actually changed in only 300, 400, 500 years, and that certain events have happened, resets, earthquakes, that have actually changed the landscape, so that it's not necessarily the cartographers that are creating these outlandish flights of fancy with their maps, but that they're actually they did the work, and then the world has changed. So that's another idea that's starting to surface. But this is my point with this particular map, is that this map is in 1597, so getting close to the 1600, right, the 17th century, and it shows these little city icons, right? Now, because there's not a legend that says what that might represent for how big of a city that is. But I gotta say, okay, we know South America, we know Peru, we know Brazil, and on these continents there are a handful of these city stamps. Okay, so I contend that in order to receive, for an area to receive a city stamp like this, a little icon or whatever you want to call it, it'd have to be a substantial city, right? It would have to, at least this cartographer, this would represent a substantial place, an established place, right? And here we go, Canada River, which is awesome to see. Okay, so here we go. Here's one thing I just want to point out about this particular map, guys. Okay, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. Okay, can anybody out there, not that I'll hear you, can you tell me what's missing from this bit here? I'll give you a clue. We got the St. Lawrence. Where the hell are the Great Lakes? Now, I get it, okay, cartography wasn't at its peak there, kind of getting it wrong a lot of times, they don't really got it right here. But how do you miss the Great Lakes? How do you follow this little river up, this little river down, this giant river that leads over here? How do you know about Chicago, Chilaga, but you don't know about the Great Lakes? Maybe there's no Great Lakes. So sometime between the 17th century, or 1597, and now, the Great Lakes appeared, according to this map. But don't just take this map's word for it. What about this map? There's Nova Scotia. There's Canada here. Okay, wait. So we have something here. This is kind of a a bigger lake. But this is still the east coast of Canada. This is still not... So we're missing some stuff here. And this is a 1499 map. So this is 100 years prior. We still have... Here's Quivira, right? And then we have all of this settlement. All this is going on here. It even says a little reference here. 1492, Christopher Colombo. So, you know, that's when he discovered America. And you're telling me that in 1499, this is the kind of settlements you have on the west coast of North America. And I find that incredible. This says actually, sorry, I'm noticing now it says this is a 1630 map, but all the same. I mean, even 100 years or whatever it is, 150 years. So, yes, very intriguing to me. And so, you know, here's another one. Washington, D.C. People are saying this is an old Tartarian city as well. I mean, just look at the city planning around Washington, D.C. There's all kinds of symbolism there. There's whole other videos that you can watch. Not of mine. But this is 1791. This is just the plan. Like, this is what they were planning for the city, how they're doing it. A, why? Why? B, that's a pretty crazy plan to try to implement. That's pretty big foresight. If you're telling me there's been no infrastructure yet, and this is just a proposed plan for infrastructure, for city planning, I mean, that is wild. Who designs a city like this? I don't know. But the story is that Washington, D.C. was actually a Tartarian city that was conquered and was destroyed. Here's another old map of North America. And you can't see anything, so we're going to move on. This is another good one too, but I know as soon as I zoom in, we're not going to be able to see it. Maybe this one will be a little bit nicer too, so let's see here. Let's see what he's seeing. A little bit. Okay. So this map, I'm not sure the date. Let me see if I can find it here. There's so much out there, guys, when you start to look. All right, now before I lose my train of thought on Tartaria, I'm just gonna go back in here again, and so here we are with America. Again, there's Chicago, and here's those. This is actually, I guess it was a close-up of that map that I was showing you. So this is nice because there you can see this this village, this town or city right on the coast here, Quivira, and you get a little sense of this being in California, I guess. And yeah, you can see it's a little different than what we understand it looking like. So lots of stuff out there, guys, and this is just some of the old maps that I managed to come across showing us that. Now I want to move on to some of my tabs here, and let's just see where I go. Okay, so there's a legend of the 7 cities of gold. The 7 cities of gold is a myth that was popular in the 16th century. It's also featured in several works of popular culture. According to legend, the 7 cities of gold could be found throughout the pueblos of the New Mexico territory. The cities were Hawika, Halona, Matsaki, Quivira, Kiakima, Cibola, and Quaquina. While there have always been mentions of a 7th city, no evidence of a site has been found. Origins of the myth. In the 16th century, the Spaniards in New Spain, now Mexico, began to hear rumors of 7 cities of gold called Cibola, located across the desert hundreds of miles to the north. The stories may have their root in an earlier Portuguese legend about 7 cities founded on the island of Antillia by a Catholic expedition in the 8th century, or based on the capture of Merida, Spain, by the Moors in 1150. Really, guys? So they are like based on an expedition in the 8th century? Did they know? Like, did they know about this 8th century legend that they just had to base it on? I mean, it seems like a stretch, guys. The later Spanish tales were largely caused by reports given by the 4 shipwrecked survivors of the failed Narvaez expedition, which included Alvar Nunez Cabeza de Vasa, I guess, and a black Moorish slave named Esteban Dorantes, or Estevanico, eventually returning to New Spain. The adventurers said they had heard stories from natives about cities with great and limitless riches. However, when Conquistador Francisco Vázquez de Conranado finally arrived at Cibola in 1540, he discovered that the stories were unfounded and that there were, in fact, no treasures, as the friar had described, only adobe towns. While among the towns, Conrado heard an additional rumor from a native he called the Turk, that there was a city with plenty of gold called Quivira, located on the other side of the Great Plains. However, when at last he reached this place, variously conjectured to be in modern Kansas, Nebraska, or Missouri, he found little more than straw-thatched villages. But hold on a second here. Quivira apparently is in Kansas, but what about our maps where we definitely see Quivira? I'll go over here. Maybe you were looking in the wrong place, man, because Quivira is over here, more to the west. And there is a big city right there. And I'm sorry, but in 1570, this map has a bunch of cities going on. So, I mean, we even have a big city right here in Canada, right? A place where it's not easy to live without electricity and electric heat, and, all that stuff that we have now. It was much tougher to live in this area. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Bear with me. Oh, okay. Now, they're probably gonna veer away. Now, what's really neat, I'm gonna hopefully get to the next bit that I want to talk to you guys about, and hopefully it brings me there. Hopefully I have my tabs up and organized here. So there is this guy, and his name came up while they were trying to figure out. Oh, here's an awesome one. Oh my goodness. Whoops. 1 second. Something happened there. Okay, so let's maybe take another closer look here. Now, when's this map, guys? Hey, this is basically the same map, isn't it? Look at this really cool writing and stuff on here. I love this. Love this. Okay. So, yeah. Quivira. Again. I can't tell if this looks like there's way more. This may be the big version of the blown up one that I was showing you there. Let's just take a look here. Hopefully you guys are taking a moment to take a look. There's so much to see, you just want to keep zooming in. But I'm online with this image right now, so I can't zoom in any more than that. But I digress. I'm not trying to do that. I am trying to talk to you about this guy, this Tartarex. Okay. 16th century Tartarian king Tartarax ruled Quivira Regnum in North America. Came upon some, and this is coming from, sorry, I'm forgetting the name of this website, and I do want to, oh yeah, Stolen History. Please check this guy, check this out, Stolen History, guys. Okay, came up on some fun info pertaining to North American continent and its possible relation to Tartary. Here's what we have. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado was a Spanish conquistador. An explorer led a large expedition from Mexico to present-day Kansas through parts of southwestern United States between 1540 and 1542. In the 16th century, the Spaniards in New Spain began to hear rumors of 7 cities of gold. I think we covered that. Okay. As the story goes, Conrado was not a regular explorer. He was looking for gold. The cities he was looking for were those ones we mentioned. Quivira is in there. Okay. So, here's a bunch of maps. Now, where do we talk about this guy here? See, he's looking at the Quivira stuff. Okay, so Quivira Regnum. As we all should know by now, Regnum is Latin for kingdom. So essentially we end up with the kingdom of Quivira. And there can be no kingdom with no king. Additionally, the 1630 maps contain the following statement. I got no clue what it says, but one word definitely sticks out, right? Tartarian. This is North America, guys. This is North America in the 1600s with a king. Kingdom of Quivira, which has Tartarians. Can anybody else read the rest of that Latin and let me know what it says? What I found in my continued research could be interesting for a few forum members. I assume this Quivira kingdom was ruled by a king whose name was Tartarax. Now, I do not think that was his real name. My personal opinion that the king was referred to as Tartar Rex. Rex means king in Latin. From this perspective, we have no idea what the king's name was. There they had news of Axa and Quivira, where it was said was a king whose name was Tartarax, with a long beard, hoary head, and rich, which was hoary-headed and rich, which was girded with a bracamart, which preyed upon a pair of beads, which worshipped a cross of gold, a cross of gold, and image of a woman, the Queen of Heaven. Different ideology, similar symbolism. Of course, considering that Coronado went to Kansas instead, they found Jack nothing. Instead, the kingdom of Quivira and the Tartarian king. Please read the cut below. Alright, so what is he going to say? The rest of history of this voyage to Acco and all these other places. They agreed to pass further into the country, which was told them to be better and better. So they came to Acuco, a town upon an exceeding strong hill, and from thence Don Garcias Lopez went with his company of horsemen unto the sea, and Francisco Vasquez went to Tuguex, which standeth on the bank of a big river. There they had news of Axa and Quivira, where it is said was a king whose name was Tartarax, with a long beard, hoary-headed and rich with... okay, we read all that. Okay, so in the country of Tigu, there were melons and white red cotton, which they made large mantles. They went for 4 days' journey to Securic, a small town, and 4 leagues thence they met the new king, a new kind of oxen, wild and fierce. They killed 80 to feed their army. Through the mighty plains and sandy heaths and smooth and wearisome of wood, so that they made heaps of ox dung for want of stones and trees, that they might not lose themselves upon their return. That's how far they were journeying. For 3 horses were lost in that plain and 1 Spaniard. Okay, so on they went, all they went. At length they came to Quivira, and found Tartarax, whom they sought, a hoary-headed man, naked, with a jewel of copper hanging at his neck, which was all his riches. The Spaniards, seeing the false report of so famous riches, returned to Tigu, without seeing either cross or show of Christianity. Didn't we just read about him having a cross? And thence to Mexico. In the end of March 1542, Francisco Vasquez fell from his horse, and with the fall out of his wit, he became mad. Oh, really? Which some took for grief, and others thought to be counterfeited, for they were much offended with him, because he peopled not the country. Quivira is in 40 degrees. It is a temperate country, and hath very good waters, and much grass, plums, mulberries, nuts, melons, and grapes, which ripen very well. There is no cotton, and they apparel themselves in ox hides and deer skins. It grieved Don Antonio very much that the army returned home, for he had spent about 70,000 pesos of gold in the enterprise, and owed a great part thereof still. Many sought to have dwelt there. But Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, which was rich and lately married to a fair wife, would not consent, saying they could not maintain nor defend themselves in so poor a country and so far from successor. Okay, so two things could be deduced from that. So he went there and he found nothing. He found nothing in a place that has a city sign on it in 1570, a place that's been talked about for hundreds of years, and they were just living in sheepskin. Is it more likely, or oxen skin? Is it more likely, perhaps, that they were so powerful in advance that he knew that they would be completely destroyed should they try anything against this city? And that the journey had revealed so much to him that he knew that his whole civilization or his whole city or country or whatever would be in peril if they tried to attack and deal with these people who were possibly using free energy and doing amazing things. Just a thought. Not saying anything. I haven't deduced anything, but I don't know. Are you like me at all, where you just can't stop thinking about questions and questions and more questions? That's been a big question for me. So I want to talk to you guys. Okay, we know about Tartarians. I want to move over to another group of people who lived in our part of the world, or in my part of the world, in North America. These people are called the Acadians. Martin Licht, he reported on this not too long ago. And I just wanted to touch on this because it's quite close to where I live. I mean, relatively speaking. This is in the area of New Brunswick and Maine, where the Acadians, who were French... let's just read it here. I don't need to tell you. I'll just read it here. The Acadians are the descendants of the French settlers, and sometimes the indigenous people, as parts of Acadia, French Acadie, in this northeastern region of North America, comprising what is now the Canadian maritime provinces of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island, Agaspé in Quebec, and to the Kennebec River in southern Maine. The history of the Acadians was significantly influenced by the 6 colonial wars that took place in Acadia during the 17th and 18th century. Guys, this is 6 wars in 78 years. See the 4 French and Indian Wars, Father Rail's War, and the Father Latrue's War. Eventually, the last of the colonial wars, the French and Indian War, resulted in the British expulsion of the Acadians from the region. After the war, many Acadians came out of hiding or returned to Acadia from the British colonies. Others remained in France, and some migrated from there to Louisiana, where they became known as Cajuns. That's where you have the French Cajuns. The corruption of the word Acadians or Acadians, a corruption. Cajuns is a corruption of the word Acadians or Acadians. The 19th century saw the beginning of the Acadian Renaissance and the publication of Evangeline, which helped galvanize Acadian identity in the last century and have made achievements in the area of equal language, cultural rights, minority group, and maritime provinces. I'm just going to go into the Evangeline here and just see. Okay, I'm not going to go there because, you know what, I haven't even really gone into that, and now I won't expect you to follow my whims with these blue links that are rabbit holes, every one. Okay, so these Acadians lived here in Canada and in the States. They arrived probably around the 1500s when they first arrived, and then some more notable things started happening in like the 1600s and 1700s. And then when they were sort of defeated, they started to be deported all over the place, back to Europe and all this stuff. Now, my wife was telling me that there has been some evidence that the Acadians may have been black, that the Acadians may have had a longer history in the area than what we're told, that they were maybe much more settled. And that's kind of, and this being the video where we kind of explore some of the theories, that is one of the theories is that, this whole area, this whole North American area was already well established and settled. But the British invasion just kept hammering and kept reclaiming things for themselves. So that's when we get into reclaimed cities. That's when we start reading and seeing lots of pictures of people trying to pass off old works of architecture as new ones. That's why we have some people believing that Freemasonry is talking about just reclaiming masonry that's free. It's free because you just take over and reclaim it, and then you give it a date and say that you built it, which which is something else. So I want to take you now to, so how do we tie all this together? How do we tie the Tartarians, America, other places where the Tartarians would be? How do we tie it together? Well, some of the things is symbolism and architecture. So, guys, we have like the eagle, for example. So here we are. We have the bald eagle for the American, the symbol of America. So we all know, there's the eagle there, and it's a bald eagle. Bald eagle is only found in North America. We have this. This is the crest. There's all kinds of symbolism that goes